What's up, Hoochies? We're back. Or should I say, I'm back. But welcome to Lace Convos with Jew. And once again, obviously, I'm your girl, Jew, for another
Yes,
episode of
yes.
shenanigans, but good shenanigans, of course. And as you can see, I have a guest here. One of my favorites, okay?
Oh, thanks,
Blood,
sis.
definitely. My cousin, Javion. Thank you for
How y'all
joining
doing?
me.
Man, thank you for the invite. I'm excited
Of
to
course.
have this lace
I am
conversation with you.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. But I'm so excited that you have joined me for this conversation. It's going to be really, really dope. If you're new here, you already know, well, you don't know that we keep it very transparent, very just laid back, real, honest conversation about life in general. It can be random conversation about anything. Trust me. If you don't know, go back to the other episodes because I didn't talk about everything by now. But that's the part that I enjoy so much about this platform is it's a safe space for all to just have a conversation, be vulnerable, and be able to, say, hey, I fucked up this time. Or, say, hey, it's something I need to learn or it's something that I need to get off my chest. And that's exactly what we do here. That's what I do. So, welcome. But if you're not new here, you already know how we do. We keep it funny, hilarious. It's going to always be a laugh around here. And we just keep it honest because, I mean, what's life with you being dishonest? You don't grow. You don't get anything from it.
Absolutely.
So, how are you feeling on this Sunday?
I'm feeling good on this Sunday. It was
Okay.
a relaxed Sunday. I did the cleaning
Ooh.
yesterday, so I got to sleep in today. So I just been
Oh.
kicking it,
See,
enjoying. Yeah.
I'm tired. I've been outside all weekend.
Oh,
I'm
I
tired.
saw. I saw.
I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired. I was just telling my friend earlier, like you be expecting to have like a chill weekend, and then all of a sudden somebody texts you like, "Hey, you want to go to brunch? Hey, you want to go out for drinks? Hey, you want to go for crawfish?
Yo.
Hey, you want to go?" I'm tired. So, but it was a good weekend. Very good. Got a chance to hang out with my friends. And the whole point of me
Mhm.
just living my life is just being outside. Not always being outside, but just enjoying life, whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Got to.
But why Monday got to be tomorrow though?
That
Why
part.
is Monday tomorrow?
That part.
I need an extra day. Like it's just, yeah. Needless to say, it was a good weekend. And now we're here. Of course, this Sunday is the Lace Day to have some conversation with my favorite cousin. As you have
That's
already
right.
mentioned, we are cousins.
Mhm.
And
Cousins.
I'm super excited to have you here on the platform because I feel like obviously we've known each other since the beginning. However, over time, people evolve, people change, people grow,
Mhm.
people, life happens, things happen, and now you're a new person. And so I feel as if this person here, you have evolved so much where I just love the fact that you're very in tune with who you are,
Absolutely.
and you're very in tune with the vision you had for you. It's always been like Javion is here, there, everywhere. And some people may think of that as like, oh, that's inconsistent. But I love the fact that you explore. Like you
Yeah.
go out and you explore the world. If it's something you want, if it's something that's aligned to you, you go and see what that opportunity is. And I feel like that is so dope. So, yeah, I'm just really excited to hear your perspective on this conversation. We've talked about it in our DMs. It's so crazy when
Yeah.
I befriend family on social media. It's like you get a different version of that family member versus what you would see at like the family cookouts. Not like a fake like facade type of thing, but like I really get to like connect with you
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Hmm. You
You
know, you
know?
gotta you gotta
Because
keep it a
when
certain
you
way for the elders. You gotta be
yeah, you want to
respectful for the
respect,
elders. You gotta,
especially in our family. Yes, in our
yes,
family,
yes, yes.
don't push
They
the
don't play
envelope
that.
too much. Now. I want to make it to live tomorrow, so I got to make
Hmm.
sure I keep it respectful. I honor my elders. And I don't do too much, but just
Hmm.
being connected with you on social media and our relationship evolving and getting to know each other in this big grown age,
Yeah.
and seeing each other now versus back then, it blows my mind. So I'm really excited about it. And I can't wait for the world, because that's who listening. We gonna claim that the world is listening. Okay.
The world is gonna see. I've been saying it since you started those
Literally.
conversations.
Literally. Let me just
They
say
gonna
this.
see it.
I just said this before we started recording. Your mother and you are my biggest supporters. Like I
You
don't know
already know,
nobody else.
cuz. You already know.
Your mother and
You already
you
know.
are my biggest supporters. So, I'm really excited about what we have coming up today. So we're going to get started. But first, as always, I start the conversation trying to get to know you a little bit, bring some little spice to the conversation and let my
Spice.
audience see you under the fire.
Mama, if you watching this, it's all Janelle. So if you call somebody, call her. Don't call me. I'm just
No,
answering the question, all right?
She signed up. You signed up for the risk. I'm just waiting. But shout out to your mama. Look, shout out to your mama.
Yeah, because we
All
know she
right,
gonna
so
be
I'm gonna
watching.
ask
Shout out to
as
moms.
always. Of course, my biggest supporter. Okay, one thing I can definitely depend on is her liking my stuff. Okay, liking my posts, my everything. She gonna like it.
Man,
I'm here for
I already know.
it. All right, so I'm going to ask you a question. Now, I'll be fair and I'll answer the question as well. I won't leave you out here high and dry. So, um, okay. We're going to ask, what's worse? Okay, lust with no love or love with
Mhm.
no lust.
What? Lust with no love
Not what.
or love with
What's
no
worse?
lust?
Lust with no love, meaning you could want the person physically, but no love
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
Or love, you love the person, emotionally connected with them, but no lust. Like you're not physically wanting them. What's worse?
Hmm. Hold on, I need a minute to let me just ruminate on this real quick. I think it's
Okay,
based on what my
I'll
intentions.
answer
My
while you.
Okay, okay, cool,
Uh
cool.
huh. I'm gonna say for me. Okay, so the heel version of me would be like, oh, Um, lust with no love, the emotional. Like I need the emotional. The healed version
Hmm.
needs the emotional. I need that emotional connection. The unhealed version, pre therapy, pre self
Hmm.
reflection, pre self accountability. I don't know what we're gonna do if I don't like looking at you. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like if I'm not physically attracted to you, I don't know where this is gonna go. I really don't know.
I
I'm
got
not
you.
saying it can't go
I
anywhere.
got
I
you.
just don't know. You
You
see
don't
what
know
I'm
where it's
saying?
going. I see what you're saying.
I don't know. Exactly. Because, I mean,
All
let's
right.
be real. You got to want to, like,
Hmm.
I ain't
Yeah,
blind.
that
So
that attraction piece is important.
it's important. People
I
try to
think for
downplay it when they go deep. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think for me,
So what you think?
it depends. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna just keep it as real as I can be. It depends on my intention. What do I want out of the situation? So if I'm just trying to,
Ooh,
you know what I'm
okay.
saying, enjoy myself for like a couple of days, a month, nothing serious. If you beautiful and that's all you is, then we can joke around and have fun, cool. But if I'm trying to
Right.
go deep with you, if I'm trying to go deep with you, I definitely need that
Mm-hmm.
emotional connection. And I feel like um the lust or the beauty can come, or we can, if we build to that level, we could do some things to help spice it up. So
Okay. And I like that. I like that you pointed out the intentions behind it, because that's very
hmm.
important, and we'll get into that in our conversation. We've talked about that throughout this podcast, from beginning to end. You have to be very clear on intentions, and not be just very
Yeah,
clear with yourself, but with the other person. Because I may
yeah.
have an intention, and you may have a different intention, and
Mhm.
my intention may be to, I'm trying to get wifed up, and your intention may be, I'm just trying to, I'm just here for a good
Yeah.
time, not a long time. That's true,
Hmm. I mean,
Exactly,
yeah,
but it results into different, different behaviors. So if you're only here for a good time and not a long time, I don't expect you to be like, oh well, let's cuddle up and let's, like there is no
yeah,
emotions with
nah,
that. It's
yeah.
it, and go.
Definitely a different set of boundaries right there. And I'm
Exactly.
really big on having them conversations up front. Like,
Mm.
and I tell the women I date, I tell them straight up, like, these are my intentions. So this is my intention. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Um, and I just let it be known. And what I've noticed is some people, I give people the opportunity to let me know if they're on the same
Mm.
page or not. And if they not, that's cool for both of us because I don't got to deal with nothing crazy, and you don't have to deal with feeling like your feelings getting played with, or
That
vice
part.
versa. So.
You need to give a class. Give a class to the rest of the Negroes out there because they don't do that. They don't do that. They take your choice away. And you be like, but
Mhm,
how you know I want to deal with that? Like, one, you don't tell me. You're not very clear with your communication, with your
mhm.
intentions. And now I'm just stuck in a situation.
Do you ask?
Cousin, we supposed to be favorites. Why did you ask that? I'm just
We
playing.
favorites.
So,
I'm trying to put you on game. Do you ask? Cause
you right. You right. Did I ask? Okay. So I'm learning to ask because I
hmm
can't just assume. Because
right.
people will show you anything, you know, and they'll tell you,
hmm
or sometimes they'll tell you anything, but they'll definitely show you anything just to shut you up or to satisfy you. But if I
Right.
come to you and I say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I'm expecting, and you tell me, well, this is what I can do or what I can't do, then that leads me to know whether or not I want to entertain it. So you're right, I should ask.
Yeah.
See, this is
Yeah.
why you're my favorite. You check me, and I needed to be checked. Do you ask?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Cause.
do y'all
hmm
ask out there? Do y'all ask the people what is it that you're trying to do?
hmm
Because to be
And
honest,
not just
now,
ask. Yeah.
yeah,
I was gonna say not just ask. I think a lot of us ask or pay attention, but do you listen to the response? Do you listen to hear, or do you listen to want to change their mind? Because those two totally different things. If somebody tell you they not ready, and you out here trying to change their mind about being ready, you just gonna end up feeling you gonna get hurt
yeah,
basically at the end of the situation because they told you from jump what they wanted. So
exactly. You've created this
mhm,
false reality of what you think you're going to get at the end, but you don't, and then you
yeah,
get mad because you're constantly disappointed.
yep,
I mean, we might as well just pass the offering plate now. It is Sunday. We might as well go ahead and pass it because I mean we're preaching on this good old Sunday, okay? That
you
was
already
good.
know.
That was good. That was good. All right. See, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Your mother would be very proud. She would be very proud for the answer.
She
All
gonna call
right.
me and we gonna waiting
Oh,
on that phone call,
I
man.
know, right? How do you know when you're the problem in a relationship? Mm,
Yeah. How do I know when I'm the problem? I think a lot of self-reflection tells you if you're the problem in a relationship. Self-reflection and patterns. If you had the
mm,
same issue with every person you date, you the common denominator. So what are you doing?
yeah,
Um, or if you constantly getting hurt in every relationship, again, it's a pattern. What are you doing? What are you choosing? How are you showing up or not showing up?
absolutely.
Um, and so those are the main ways that I know. And then the other thing I think is triggers.
Mm,
Depending on what I get triggered by and how I respond to that trigger, because a lot of times we can react to whatever comes up for us, or we can respond. So if I'm just reacting, I'm the problem. The trigger is not my fault. Being triggered isn't my fault, but how I show up in regards to
yeah.
how I communicate in regards to is a
hmm
huge thing
How
to
you
think about.
react to
Yeah.
that trigger. Yeah,
hmm
absolutely. You know what's funny is I've recently been seeing things on Instagram when it comes to triggers, and that's something that we can't avoid. Things are going to always trigger you, but how do
Exactly.
you respond to those triggers? Do you even respond? You know what I mean? Do you acknowledge the
Yeah.
triggers, and do you allow it to bring you back to that place that you were in, or do
hmm
you realize and learn from that trigger? How do I cope with it? How do I still
Absolutely.
maneuver through? So that's good. You
Absolutely.
took my answer. I definitely know from from my past experience. I've now realized that a lot of times it takes two to tango. It's not always his fault.
hmm
You know what I mean? It's not always her fault. Sometimes maybe you didn't necessarily say anything wrong or do anything wrong in the action, but how did you entertain it?
Right. Right. That's real talk.
So did I, not say anything? You know what I mean? How did I entertain it? How did I set the expectations for this person to think or be okay with doing that? This is where
Right.
you got me effed
Right.
up at.
hmm
So, I can definitely be accountable for that. Like I said, it's a growing process. It's a one step at a time. I'm not perfect. You're not
Right.
perfect. Nobody's perfect. But once you recognize where you fall short, you have to do better.
Hmm.
When you know better, you do better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah. Okay, so let's see. I gotta get a good one because I feel like I'm just playing it safe around here.
Yeah, go ahead and get a little spicy on them. A little spice.
Oh, you didn't say that for the thing. Okay, all right. Okay. What's funny is I ain't choosing no spicy cards. Okay. okay. When unfaithful. Okay. When unfaithful, do you love who you're honest with or who you lie to?
So this is a crazy one, cuz I've never been unfaithful in a relationship.
I
I've
haven't either.
I've never been unfaithful, so I can't even answer that because I've never done it.
Come on now. Yeah, I am still single. I've never been unfaithful. Never.
Uh-uh.
But here's the thing, though. Yeah, I've never been unfaithful because I've been single. So if I'm single, I can date them all if I want to.
Ah, see,
So no, but is it true? Like I'm
yeah,
single,
you
I can
you
date
right.
them all.
It's true. It's true. Wait, when you say single, do you mean like you've been unmarried, or you just mean you ain't been in a relationship? Because some of
Okay, well
y'all be like,
you can break it down even more. I'm single and I'm
yeah,
unmarried, so that means that I can date them all. But if I was in a committed relationship, like, hey, I want to be exclusive with you, and we've had that conversation, then at that point I am not single.
hmm,
Relationship wise, text wise, yes, I'm still
yeah,
single. But relationship wise, I am not single.
I got you.
There we
Okay,
go.
okay.
So I have not been unfaithful. Period.
Hmm. Same.
Okay, so we can answer that. Dang, I thought I was gonna get a good one from you. All right, all
Yeah.
right. Okay, what about um? Well, it's gonna lead us into our conversation. What's
Okay.
worse, women with daddy issues or men with mommy issues? No judgment how you answer this question. No judgment.
Ooh.
As I drink my
I
drink because I'm.
honestly, yeah, go ahead and you. That's a big
Mm-hmm.
ass wine glass, cause
And that's what it
let me see that
say.
whole
My
cup.
big ass
Let me see
wine
that whole.
glass. Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Okay.
all right. So what do I think is worse?
Women with
I
daddy
don't
issues.
even think I could. I don't think one is worse than the other. I think who's doing the work and who's not doing the work to
Ooh.
really sit with those things. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if a person is aware, I think an unaware person on either spectrum is
Mm-hmm.
gonna be the worst because
Yeah.
they not aware of their actions, reactions, and how they showing up in situations. And I think after that, from the person who's not aware, the person who is aware, who's not doing anything to shift things. I think those are the worst two types of individuals in that kind of a scenario or situation. I don't think it's mommy issues versus daddy issues because parent issues affect
Issue.
us all in different ways and
Exactly.
be having us all fucked up in the game. So it's
Exactly.
the,
You're
the
right. You're right.
unawareness
And I
of
agree with you
what
on
you
that.
got going on
There's
and the
nothing
unwillingness
greater than the
to
other in that
work on those
situation.
things, I think is
The issue is an
what puts
issue.
us in the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Okay. That was nice. Okay. That was a good one. That was politically correct. Phenomenal.
Polit- politically correct. It's
But it's the
yeah,
truth, though. It's the truth. Like,
yeah.
it's more so who's aware and who's not aware. And if you are aware, are you doing anything to effectively change that?
Hmm.
All right, last one. If your parents don't like your partner, is that a deal breaker?
For me,
For you.
no.
Really?
I think that so when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
it absolutely was not a deal breaker. I used to think my mama was tripping. Love you, mom, but I used to think she was tripping. And then going through the relationship, my mom has this thing that she does where at the end of the relationship, she'll be like, I knew she was like that. I just didn't want to say nothing because she used to get upset. Um, and so now I'm getting to a point as me and her have built our relationship where I'm more so open to hearing her perspective.
Mm.
But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it becomes a deal breaker when I decide it's a deal breaker, not necessarily as of
Mm.
however my family feels about whoever I'm with. Because all you see is what we
Okay.
show y'all when we show up. Y'all don't know what happened
Exactly.
behind the scenes, what our conversations are like, how we communicate, like how
Hmm.
we really connect and bond. And you don't know what we're working on individually and together. So I think it would be unsmart and just, yeah, it just wouldn't feel good for me to be like, oh, my mama said she don't rock with you, so I'm about to leave you alone.
Yeah.
'Cause mama
And
only,
it
yeah.
sounds, yeah, it sounds very, I don't want to say petty, but it sounds very immature in my mind.
Hmm. Hmm.
To allow someone else's opinion dictate how you interact in your relationship. However, you have
Absolutely.
a lot of people that do, in relationships, they do that. Like, think about all of the marriages that, you have a mama's boy who's like, my mama ain't really feeling you. You have in-laws that don't get along with the actual spouse. And it really affects that relationship because the
Yeah.
parents' opinion, and I'm not saying dismiss your parents' opinion. I'm not saying that. Because truth be told, these people know us. They birthed
Hmm.
us, so they know us. They know us through and
Yeah.
through. However,
However.
from a romantic level, my mother cannot tell me my feelings about someone that I like. She can't do that. She can't tell me. She
Yeah.
can't validate my feelings. She can't
Hmm.
confirm them. Like she doesn't know that side of me. So it's
Yeah.
quite unfair to yourself to and the other person to dictate how you operate with them based upon somebody else's opinion. That doesn't make sense. But I like what you said about building your relationship with your mom. So now where it's completely like, nah, I'm not even trying to hear you. You're crazy. You don't know what you're
Hmm.
talking about. So now I'm going to take it in. Okay, if you want to offer some advice, you want to offer some criticism, no problem. I may,
Hmm.
see it through and I may not. It may click
Right.
in my brain. I may agree and I may not. But I'm going to
Hmm.
allow you to say whatever it is you need to say and still make my decision and stand firm in my decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think
that's
it's important to
maturity.
be able to stand firm. Yeah. To
Yeah.
stand firm in your decision, and also a lot of times our parents have the ability to sway us because for such a long time many of us look up to them and want their approval in a lot of things. And I just know, like, I've dated women who it didn't matter who they brought home, their mama wasn't going to feel like that individual was good enough
Hmm.
for them, and so they were
Yeah.
always going to find something to point out. And I could see my mom at a point doing that as well, because you want the best for your child. But
Hmm.
sometimes our parents are basing that off of what they've been through,
Their
and they
experience.
don't really know.
Hmm.
They don't know what's best for us based on our own experiences. So they mean well. That's why I take it with a grain of salt.
Hmm. You're right. You're right. I had this instance where I had when I first moved to Houston, I'm a social butterfly. I've never met a stranger. Anybody I meet, like, okay, cool, let's kick it, whatever. That's just who I am through and through.
Hmm.
And so I had met social media allows you to connect with different people. So I had met this young lady where we were like, okay, like we like the same thing. Let's go hang out. We're both new. She was from
Yeah.
like Philly, whatever. We're not friends no more. So I had met her and I mentioned to my mom how I met her. I was like, oh yeah, we met on this Facebook group. We both a part of the group. And she was like, oh, she could be a killer. And she
Hmm.
automatically like put this girl as killer every time we would talk on the phone.
Yeah.
Who you meeting up with? Killer? Like that? No, don't do
Damn,
that.
auntie.
Don't do that. But she did that based upon what she one has heard on the news, right? Maybe the latest news break was, oh, somebody met somebody from Craigslist and they died. She's going to say, oh, that's how that's what's going to happen in this situation.
Hmm.
Or maybe she had a previous experience where maybe somebody scammed her online through the email. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anything online, she matches that response to that experience. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, automatically, anything you mention online, that's what it is. And so I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you miss out on so many opportunities and people that you could
Yeah.
possibly link up with because you over here thinking everybody a Craigslist killer. Like, I didn't meet the girl Craigslist. Like, no, that's not what this is. We cool. We was in a Facebook group. It was like Black Women's of
Hmm.
Houston or something like that. And that's
Yeah.
common nowadays. And that's our generation being open and innovative when it comes to meeting people. And it's social media for you. But she doesn't understand that concept. And I mentioned that and I brought that question as the last one because a lot of times our parents, that's the first relationship that we get, right? The
Right,
first relationship
right.
that we have with people, period. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, those interactions with our mothers, our fathers, our family, our aunts, uncles, whoever, they really mold us and how we act with other people, how we interact
Mm-hmm.
in relationships, friendships, in the
Yep.
workplace,
Yep.
how we interact with ourselves, how we look at ourselves, how we communicate, process things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And me and my favorite cousin over here, we found that we share some of the same experiences and some of the
Yeah.
same opinions and just processing things when it comes to how we were raised. One, what's
Mm-hmm.
crazy is, granted, we wasn't raised like super close together, but like
Nah.
our parents are, they're first cousins, right? Yeah, they're first cousins, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
They grew up together.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
grew up together. However, obviously, your grandparents ran that household. My grandparents ran that household. So
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't even think like some of the same things we both share as far as experiences. You're
Yeah.
like, dang, she told
Yeah.
you that too?
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Oh man, that's what my mama
Yeah.
used to tell me. Like
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff like that. And it just proves a point, especially in the black community, that a lot of times it can be good and it can be bad. It can be
Yep.
a generational kind of block from preventing you from seeing those new heights and really getting to know who you are as an individual, because we stand in a chokehold with, well, this is the standard. This is what my mom and them did. This is what my dad and them
Mm-hmm.
did. This is what I saw when it comes to relationships. So this got to be normal. And it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my cousin decided, well, I kind of like pressured her a little bit, like you should talk about, or pressured him a little bit and said you should talk about it in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're here now. So we're gonna talk about how did we get here, like what brought
Mm-hmm.
us to this moment, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially since I know that I'm single. I had to take a long pause with that one. I'm single. And I'm in this whole like self-evaluation process of,
Absolutely.
evaluating what can I do, what can I do in this moment of me being single to evaluate how do I play a part, and what are some of the things that I can grow and learn more or better or become better, become a better woman in during this process. And a part of that was recognizing some of the toxic behaviors that I have on my
We
end.
all got them. We all
We
got them.
got them. It's nothing you can do to avoid it, you know?
Right.
You
Right.
gonna get it. You gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learning to recognize it and to work on it, constantly work on
Absolutely.
it. And being open and always being in this student mindset of I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to work on it. So, we're gonna start this conversation of how do we get here when it comes to dating. Like, how did I get here to picking out the wrong partners? Because we've all had that experience where it's like, how in the hell did I get connected with this?
Yeah.
My mama didn't raise me to deal with this. How did
Yeah.
I get here?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for me, like I said, I'm in this process of just evaluating and, like you said earlier, recognizing the patterns. I noticed that a lot of the relationships or situationships that I was in, they ended somewhat similar.
Mm-hmm.
Communication,
Oof.
accountability, or lack thereof, communication, lack thereof, accountability, um, very rigid expectations, meaning there's no room for compromise. And in some situations, compromise is okay. In some
Yeah.
situations, compromise, you're settling. But in most of my past situations, it was more of it's my way or the highway.
Hmm. You one of those, cuz no, no judgment, no judgment.
However, and it's not to throw blame, but we're being transparent.
No, I appreciate it.
I grew up in a situation where it's always been my mother's way.
Yeah.
She was the head of my household. So she
Mm-hmm.
is her rule. And she's very
Absolutely.
stern on her rule.
Mm-hmm.
So my example of a woman And I mean, honestly, like we both can agree to this. A lot of the women in our family are very strong, married,
Yes,
relationship or not. They're strong.
yes,
Period.
yes, yes. 100%. All of them.
All of
All
them.
yeah.
It's a I said what I said and that's it.
Don't
And
ask no questions. That's fine. Yeah,
you just let it be.
yeah. But they
You don't
also
question.
they got shit done. They got shit done.
Exactly.
The amount of single moms in our family, they got shit
Yes.
done.
Got it done. And even the ones that were married, they
Hmm.
found partners that were able to handle that side of them
Hmm.
or that were able to accept that side of them. And,
Yeah.
from what we can see, as kids and growing up, we
Hmm.
saw, hey, y'all still made it work. You still had a
Yep.
beautiful family from what we can see, but it was still, hey, I can still be strong. I can still have a voice. There was no very meek, timid, quiet women
No,
in our family, period.
not in our family. Not at all.
None. So for me, growing up, it was just like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
like, it's my way. This is my house. I pay the bills. I
Yeah.
do this. You can't tell
Hmm.
me what to do. I run this. On the flip side, there's nothing wrong with being an independent woman, but there's also nothing wrong with
Not at all.
living in your femininity and allowing when you have a man that
Yeah.
is worthy of that and that has showcased that
Hmm.
you can live in your femininity and live. I hate to use this term because it's so, popular now, living your soft era, you
Yeah.
can allow him to take lead. Yeah. So that's
Uh,
what I've noticed about me when it comes to that. Okay.
100%. 100%. And it makes so much sense too. And I hope you don't feel like I took a ding at you. That's not what I was trying to do. It just hit
Mm-mm.
something because those are
Absolutely
the
not.
actually
Absolutely
those are the kind of women I tend to date are very strong and it's
not.
their way or the
Mm.
highway. They don't want to compromise. And so you just hit on something major. All of the
Yeah.
women in our family, that's how they are. My mother, especially, that's
Absolutely.
how she is, where she gets shit done because she has to. And it's funny that we even
Exactly.
having this conversation today because I
Wow.
took her to the airport yesterday, and on our way to the airport,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about this, and I had told her I don't remember what was on my mind, but I told her I was like, I was like, Mom, it seemed like a majority of the men in our family at a certain point they just disappear, they go and do their own thing. And she was like, yeah, like why do you think that is? I want to be like, cause y'all crazy, but nah, that's not. I said,
I mean,
what it is because of I know from my mother how she grew up in a space where she didn't have like a father figure.
mm-hmm.
She didn't have men around to like protect her and take care of her. So she had to wear that armor for herself. She
Mm-hmm.
had to be her own protector. She had to be her own provider. She had to be strong. And so when you protecting and providing for yourself, you have to show up in a certain way
Absolutely.
in order to get things done. And so me being young, not realizing the dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm dating people who remind me of those things. But as my mother has gotten older and we've had numerous conversations and really built our relationship, like she's speaking on like, yo, I didn't want to have to be the protector and the provider. I didn't want to have to wear that
Exactly.
strong suit. I don't want to have to do any of those things, but I had to for
No
my
choice.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
And now that she's in a space where we all at the crib and she has the freedom to travel and just flow and be like more in
Yes.
her soft era, um,
Mm.
she's a different person. And so she even shows up for me differently, where it's not
Wow.
as, yeah, like it's not as dominant and like, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's more like,
Do as
okay,
I
baby, how are
say.
you feeling
Mm-hmm.
today? Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
not do what I say, it's how
Wow.
are you feeling today?
That's
What do you
deep.
need? Or in the past, my mama was not the person I was calling if I needed to talk about something for real
That is deep.
because her energy was so deal with it or figure it out. But that's the for me, I speak in terms of like masculine and feminine, and it's not. We all have both energies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We compromise of both, and it's being able to balance both of those energies.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times when I speak about it, she had to be so in her masculine, one raising sons, but also with everything she had going on, she didn't really have time to sit with those emotions because she had to get shit done. So when I would go to her
Exactly.
like, hey, I need that nurturing energy from you, she didn't have it because she didn't even have it from herself for
Ooh.
herself. So Um, as she's gotten
Cousin,
older
why
now,
you
though,
just tapped on a lot? You just tapped on a lot, and that's crazy because we share that same experience. And what I
yeah,
love about yours is that your mom is now in this place to share that side, and you're able
yeah,
to see the reason why. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
hmm,
And you got like the relationship, your whole relationship has evolved. That's like
yeah.
super dope.
And it wasn't easy. It was not. We was hitting button
Cause
heads
you
for
butt heads.
years.
You butt heads.
We was button heads, but it's like even in relationship, I just feel like two masculine energies or two dominant energies, they're not going. It doesn't work
Yes.
because two headstrong people, somebody has to be willing to take a step back. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And it be an exchange of energy. But if it's two headstrong people, it's imbalanced, and so you're not going to be able to
Exactly.
accomplish much.
You,
So,
I feel for me in a relationship, someone has to lead, right?
mhm,
I honestly do feel that way. And it's not always the male in the relationship. It's not always the masculine energy in the relationship
absolutely,
that's going to lead. There may be a moment
yeah,
where I step up to the plate and I lead, but someone has to lead
absolutely.
and someone has to follow.
Yeah,
You know what I
and I
mean?
think absolutely,
It.
I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're on point because how do I put it? I had this analogy that I gave recently to somebody, and I was just like, it's cool if I'm the captain of the ship. I'm the person steering the boat, but my woman is like my sails. So if she's not maneuvering as well, it don't matter how I steer this damn boat. It's not
Exactly.
going nowhere. And so while it's somebody leading, I think sometimes we have to take a step back to really sit with and define leadership within a relationship. So like I'm
Yes.
really big on communicating when you get in a relationship with your partner. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably one of my problems. I talk too damn much. Like let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. All right, how do you feel about that? But
Yeah.
I feel like that conversation is important. What does it look like for both of us when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to leadership? This whole idea of submitting that you hear about online all the time, I don't think just one person submits. I think it's two people that submit. It's both. Um,
Exactly.
and so it's an exchange. Anytime, yeah, that's that's how I tend like to do relationship though, where it's an
Mm-hmm.
exchange. There's certain places where whoever I'm with, they do have a foresight and a deeper understanding.
Ex-
So I'm not gonna act like I know every damn thing when I don't
exactly.
know. And I know
Exactly.
you got it down pat.
Mm-hmm.
Hey babe, can you teach me? I'm down to learn and I see you the master at this, so can you teach me what you know?
Exactly. I'm gonna
And
let you
eventually
take the
can we
lead. I'm gonna let you do that.
yeah.
And you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to help. I'm your teammate. And that's what it
Yeah.
is. That's what a relationship is, regardless of it's intimate or not. You have it's a
Mm-hmm.
teammate. It's a team. Like we're partners.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we have to remove our egos
Yeah.
and remove what we know as tradition of, oh well, a man do this, the woman do that. It's gonna come a
Mm-hmm.
time where maybe, you know, I've seen in previous or in people that I know, personal relations with other people, where most times you would think that the man would handle all of the finances, you know, but in
Mm-hmm.
reality, I've seen a situation where it's the woman handling all the finances because they were better when it came to managing money. But when it
Yeah.
comes to, you know, I don't know, maybe taking care of the kids, the man is like, he could get the kids down in the
Yeah.
bed, boom, get them up for
Mm-hmm.
school. Like, he got it.
Yeah.
So you got to really remove that ego and what we know as tradition because life is not traditional anymore. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Life looks so much different, and compared to what our parents experienced growing up to where we are now, life is so much different.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. It is so different. And the traditions, like those traditions come from somewhere. A lot of the things that are traditional are based on people being able to survive at a certain period of
Yes.
time, right? And so now that we're in this day and age, it was a point in time where women couldn't work and they couldn't have bank accounts. So in order for them to be successful and to survive,
Mm-hmm.
they needed a husband. They needed a man in order to have to sustain themselves financially. We're in a different age now where I think women right now, black women especially, are known for being the most educated in the
Yes.
United States. Huh?
And
And
businesses,
so
owning businesses,
business owners,
working.
all of that.
Yes.
hmm All of that. And so I think that's important to think about that things are shifting and changing. And with that happening, the traditions have to shift and change too.
Absolutely.
But I think there's two different things happening at the same time. Like my last relationship, my partner,
Hmm.
she works in finance. You know, she worked in finance. So
Okay.
when it came to money, I'm like, hey, you know, can you help me? Can you help me figure a couple things out? Like, how would you maneuver this? I wanted to start a clothing line. I'm like,
Hmm.
can you help me run the numbers? Like, how can we look at these numbers? What'll be what makes the most sense? And she was bomb. Like, she was really good at it, and she was able to
Wow.
help me. And I think that that's important. I think for men, a lot of times being able to step out of our ego and stepping out of what we've been taught, as far as providing and being responsible for that. Absolutely, you know, if you're the kind of man who wants to provide, then yeah, absolutely, that's your duty because
Right.
that's what you're choosing to do. But also, I think
Yes.
across the board, having an awareness that there's different types of providing. So it's not just financial support. Women need way more than just financial support. They need emotional
Emotional,
support,
spiritual, all of that
spiritual, mental. Like it's a combination of different things. And I think that
combination. Exactly.
as a generation, we just talk about finances. And it's not just men, it's a lot
Hmm.
of women too who, well, he got to make this much money.
Absolutely.
He got to be able to do this. He needs to get my nails done, hair done, this and this and this. And it's just like, is that all that matters in a relationship? Like, what is
Absolutely.
that all that matters? You know?
Absolutely. Like I use the term, I need a man to be able to cover me. And when I say cover me, I
Hmm.
mean on all ends. Like
Hmm.
maybe I don't have it financially. Okay, you can cover me. Maybe I'm not there
Hmm.
mentally this week. I'm really stressed. You can cover me. Maybe when it comes to spirituality, I'm questioning my faith. You can cover me and pray for me on
Hmm.
all ends. And if you can't do that, then you know what I mean? The both of us can't be lacking. One of us gotta be, you know what I mean? One somebody gotta be able to hold the other weight. And I feel like
Hmm.
when you find that person that's aligned to you, you may be weak in something and that may be a strength in theirs. And you have
Right.
to be able to maneuver through that. Take your ego out. Like, oh, he's trying to tell me what to do. It don't matter. It don't matter. At the end of the day, it's not your strong point. Allow that man to lead and show you what to do. And I
Exactly.
can appreciate a man that not only leads, but also you're gonna teach me. Let me teach
Hmm.
you. Let me show you what it is. And especially if it's something that I can physically and I'm feasible, like it's feasible for me to do.
Yeah.
Let me teach you. Let me tell you what to do.
Hmm.
And I can appreciate that more because when the instance comes up again, or maybe it's a moment where you can, come to the
Right.
rescue,
Right.
I can get us out of this because you taught me. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's bringing
Hmm.
value to the table, especially when people want to talk about what you bring to the table. Please don't get me started on that.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, to be teachable
Yeah,
and open to being led,
yeah,
and that being an exchange where you all are able to flow in between both. Because
exactly,
for me, just my personal views, like I want to get married one day. I want to have a wife one day.
absolutely.
Most of
I could be in the way.
the black male millionaires, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they all have wives. They have one woman that they work with who's helped them to level up,
That
you
part,
know.
cousin.
And I think
That part.
that's really important. Like to have that focus, to have a goal together. In
Yeah,
order to have a goal together and maintain that goal, you can't know everything. Your partner can't know everything. Y'all
exactly,
gonna have to exchange information and knowledge
exactly.
to learn from each other.
All of the
Um,
greats say it. I've seen
mhm,
interviews, LeBron, Obama, like all of the greats say it. Like when it comes to their spouses, they recognize that. Listen, I can't do this by myself. There's no way I will be able to
exactly.
handle all of this by myself. I
Hmm.
have to have this person. This person is literally like the GPS in the car. I'm the car, they the GPS. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah,
figure this
yeah.
thing out. One can't work
Hmm.
without the other. Period.
Absolutely.
And when you're able to recognize that, I feel like it brings harmony and it brings clarity when it's in clarity and direction and intentionality when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
can then, when you come to me and you say, well, I'm a man, you flashing your money, I already know that's all you have to give. And I need more than that. Versus if that's what oh, I need a man that only provides financially, then I'm going to go ahead and fall for the okie doke of the flashing of the money. Money
Yeah.
is here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah. And if somebody got a plethora of money too, ain't no emotion attached to that money for real. If they just got money on money on money, There's a I had a friend
Exactly.
of mine who she's dated millionaires and ballers, and she'll talk about it. She'll be like, I don't like dating those kind of men because there's an arrogance where it's not, they don't really care about how I feel or my emotions or how I'm
Absolutely.
doing. They just think that we get into it, they just gonna give me some bread and we gonna be good.
And that shuts you up.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
more than that. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
the money to shut you up. Yeah.
It comes with the rest. It comes with entitlement. It comes with a certain
Hmm.
type of expectation of, okay, I'm paying everything, so you need to do X, Y, and Z.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've been there. I've been in a
Woo.
situation
Mm.
similar to that, and it's embarrassing to admit, but it was really an experience that built me in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. So I dated somebody, and it just so happened that like when we became official, they
Mm-hmm.
were coming down, to stay with me. And when they came down at that point in time, finances were not in order. I had
Yeah.
just lost my job. Finances weren't in order.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were working, they were able to help me out. I was working a part-time job, but it wouldn't cover everything. So they
Mm-hmm.
stepped up and they're like, look, they're like, I got you. We gonna do this, we gonna do that, we gonna make it work. And me as a man, I was like, I don't, I'm gonna figure it out.
Right.
She just looking at me like, boy, if you don't take this money and like, I'm here with you, we together, I'm staying with you,
Yeah.
so we gonna figure it out together. And it was the most uncomfortable thing for me to accept help
Yeah.
from somebody I was with in that way. But the thing that I noticed
Mm-hmm.
too was in me accepting that help, there was expectations. There were things that I had to do to also show up. So like you said, there's an exchange of energy to
Mm-hmm.
balance it out. If she working, I'm
Mm-hmm.
cooking,
Mm-hmm.
I'm cleaning, I'm making breakfast, like I'm
Yeah.
grocery shopping, I'm doing all these things that uncomfortable, like
Some type of way.
uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah. I'm trying to show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
crazy thing was I didn't realize to do that at first, but as soon as I started doing it, it rebalanced the relationship. Whereas most people will see it as she's working, so she's in a masculine space and I'm doing all these other tasks and duties.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it balanced out the situation because she didn't have to worry about nothing else but doing her job and I had
Exactly.
everything else covered. And I think
And
sometimes
you're still
we as
acknowledging.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes we as people we've been taught certain things and we think things are supposed to be a certain way, so we don't allow ourselves to step out of our comfort zone in certain situations. When we do that, one, we learn a lot, we experience a lot, but it can also be very healing for the relationship to
Mm-hmm.
being able to both admit like, yo, shit, I know she was uncomfortable helping pay the bills, and it was uncomfortable as hell for me to have her in that position, but
Right.
I was also uncomfortable grocery shopping. So us both being able to say like, "Yo, I'm uncomfortable right now, but we gonna make this work."
For the
And that
benefit
shit
of
lasted 2 months.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it, 2 months. 2 months later, I had a job, and we was good.
You see what I
But
mean? Like, it's
mm,
just basically sticking it through and being there for each other because somebody's going to have a down moment. Somebody's going to have it, and you're going
yeah,
to have to do something that you
hmm,
may not be very comfortable with. It may be out of your norm. But my thing is,
absolutely.
if it's not risking your integrity, and
Hmm.
I ain't got you out there on the corner nowhere. Listen, we can work through this, okay? We can
Right,
figure this
right.
out.
Hmm.
But that's what a partnership is, and I think it's unfair sometimes to put all of that pressure on a man that, oh, you gotta do da 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 da. Don't get me wrong, every man in my
Hmm.
life, as far as family, um, they have always stepped up to the plate when it came to providing. When it comes to my
Hmm.
mother's side of the family, I can't say much from my father's side, but the men in my life on my mother's side, from my grandfather, my uncles, their children, when it comes to even how they deal with their siblings, their sisters, or whatever, their nieces.
Hmm.
Hey, you got a flat tire? Let me fix it. Let me, like they step up to the
Right,
plate to
right.
make sure that they take care of their
Hmm.
own. And I can appreciate
Absolutely.
being able to see that. You know what I mean? Because now I
Right,
have a
right.
good glimpse of what it is that I should expect from someone as a
Hmm.
partner. Okay.
Right, right.
But in that same breath, we just gonna be honest around here. Um, back in the day, men was just rolling stones. They was everywhere. Okay, they was everywhere, and
Hmm.
they had multiple kids and multiple families and multiple women. And it's not giving excuse as to what mistakes they may have made, but those examples of seeing that, even my own father, I am the baby out of 10. Okay, 10
Right.
kids. I'm the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few different mamas. A few different
Mm-hmm.
mamas. Um, I'm gonna be honest. Ooh, child. Okay. So that situation of seeing that, and my father wasn't the most active person in my life. I knew who my father was. Of course, I've been around him, interacted with him, but he wasn't necessarily an everyday dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the lack of his presence and the exposure to seeing him create these different families, create these different children, across the city, and not necessarily have to be there. I can be in and
Right.
out whenever I want to. Um, it created this lane in my head of one, not saying that I can accept that from a man, but what I've noticed in my patterns, I'm okay. I used to have this thing where I'm okay if a man has kids, and I'm still okay with that. However, I would
Mm-hmm.
never limit how many children he could have. I would never say, oh, well, just two, just one. It will always be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, I'm cool and I can deal with it. So I've had my run in where
Gotcha.
men had 4 kids and I ain't got
Mm-hmm.
none. How is that
Yeah.
gonna balance out?
Right.
I've had my run in where a man has not just 4 kids, but maybe 4 different mamas, and there's no judgment because it is what it is. There's somebody out there for you. However, I've created this like open expectation of I can be flexible around it because look where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, just because I came from that, or just because I was exposed to that, doesn't necessarily mean I have to be open to that, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, the other thing was my mother and my father had a significant age difference.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, just knowing that, I don't know, but I've always had this thing for older men. Now, let me be clear. Let me be very clear. I'm not over here chasing wheelchairs and respirators. I'm not doing that. What I am
Them the ones
saying,
with the checks. What you mean?
this is valid. This
No,
is
I'm just,
valid. This is valid. But I haven't gotten to that point yet in my life.
I'm just
Uh,
messing with you.
Actually, about 5 more years. Who knows? But no, like I have this thing where the man, I am significantly more attracted to someone that is older than me, and I typically do 10 years, no more than 10 years. I ain't never got
Got
as
you.
far as 10, but no more than 10. And it's something about it. But obviously, maybe this is a passed down type of like, I don't know. I don't know, but it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy how those same things align with what I was exposed to, what I saw in the beginning, what I knew, what my first example of when it comes to relationship, what my parents were. Now it has trickled down to me, 33,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm out here like, oh, well, I could date a 40-year-old and thinking that that's
Mm-hmm.
the route. Maybe my husband is 29. I pray to God that he's not. But maybe he's 29. Maybe he's 29. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm supposed to go older, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even down to just like it could be maybe what you're exposed to in your neighborhood. Maybe you grew up in the hood. Maybe you grew up in the inner city like us in Chicago. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel comfortable when I'm at home. Well, used to. Chicago, prior the 90s, very comfortable.
Yeah. Right. Right.
That's
Right.
my sweet spot. So when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to a quote unquote hood nigga, I'm okay with it. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
But maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's not where I'm at now, where I'm currently at.
Yeah.
I've evolved. No, no shades of the hood niggas out there. But what I'm saying is, you evolve as a person, and a lot of things that you have been pre-exposed to, whether you know it unconsciously or whatever, you really have to take a look at that because a lot of that molds who you
Absolutely.
choose as a partner. Will you agree?
Mm-hmm. I definitely would agree. I think that from my experience, just with people I've talked about, well, I'm gonna take it from my perspective of
Mm-hmm.
like my own what I've experienced. The the women I've dated a lot of times at first, I dated women from the hood and they were great, but it didn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily play out. it didn't play out well. And I don't think where you're from matters. I think it's more so about if you're aware of how where you're from has affected you and if
Mm-hmm.
you've done any work around that. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times, just in general, when you think about mental health for the black community, it's still a challenge. We just now start to move in that direction. Um,
Absolutely.
but based on what I saw growing up, having a strong mom, having strong women around me, and no real male influence, I would date strong women who
Mm-hmm.
had no cut cards, who were very dominant or like masculine in energy, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding where that comes from. But it's because that's what I saw in my mom. So I'm dating, this
That's
is
what
who
you
I'm
want.
dating, not
Yeah.
realizing that in me dating those kind of women, I'm trying to heal something that hurt me as a child. I'm trying to heal whatever I
Ooh.
experienced as a kid with my mom. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm doing that through the relationships that I'm choosing to get into. So
Mm-hmm.
my mom was as nurturing as she could be.
Yeah.
But I feel like in some ways, like she didn't have the capacity, and I understand now. But I ended up dating a lot of
Yeah.
women who weren't, they were emotionally unavailable. But it's because
Yeah.
that's what felt comfortable. That's what I knew.
Yeah.
And not even realizing that that's what it was. And that's no fault to anybody. It's just understanding what that
No.
pattern is. And now that I'm
Understanding life
doing the work and I'm
cycle.
starting to see, yeah, now that I'm seeing a pattern and all that good stuff, I'm not
Yeah.
attracted to that anymore because I have
Exactly.
this new awareness of what it is. Like the attraction is gone. Like when I see certain things, it's just like when I was younger, before I did certain work and started to understand where I was really coming from,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been head over heels trying to do
Yes.
whatever I had to flowers, shop, whatever you need. But now it's like, no, I see that this is a pattern based on my experience as a child, and
Mm-hmm.
I was showing up in a certain way. I don't want to show up in that way anymore, and this don't feel good anymore. I want something different. And even choosing different is it
Yes.
fucking, it's a mind, like it's a shock. It's
Yes.
confusing because once you step out of something you've always known,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're going crazy at certain points in time, for
Exactly.
real.
And it's the unknown.
Mm.
It's like, okay, I know where it gets me when I do the typical. But when I do outside of the box, I'm
Yeah.
nervous. I'm second guessing. I'm hesitant because this is something totally different. I
Hmm.
don't typically go for this person. I don't typically do this type of stuff. I'm not a big communicator. That's not my personality. You got to do something different. You want to see a different result? You got
Yeah.
to do something different. Um, even down, like I said, to communication, like my mother is not very affectionate.
Hmm.
She just isn't. Or I'm sorry, let me stop because my therapist told me to stop saying it. She has her own way of showing affection. And
Right.
her
Right. Right.
definition of affection is completely opposite of mine. I expect it to be
Hmm.
shown like in hugs or affirmations because that's what I
Yeah.
need. But that's not what
Right.
she necessarily gives. Her way of affection
Yeah.
is I'm going to make sure you never need for anything.
Hmm.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so
Yeah.
now when I date, I have to remember that I'm dating for what I can receive from that person. Meaning I'm dating and
Hmm.
I'm looking to see, do you have the characteristics to give me the affirmations, to give me
Right.
the physical touch, to give me
Hmm.
all of that, whatever my love language is. And so
Right.
I am purposely I'm purposely and intentionally being active and being very present when it comes to how I
Hmm.
choose people, even down to
Yeah.
friendships.
Hmm.
Who is surrounded by me, who is in my circle.
Right.
Because my spirit is, any and everybody. Anybody can be my friend. I just said it earlier, I'm a social butterfly. But knowing what I need,
Yeah.
not everybody can give me. You
Right.
see what I'm
No,
saying?
that's real. That's real.
Exactly. So I may be a gallant, but I keep meeting people that are only pints. They will never be able to feel me, ever.
Hmm.
And I have to be
Hmm.
able to maneuver that. Not saying that this person can't be in my life, but I have to put you in a category. I got to compartmentalize
Right.
where you should be. And not everybody should
Hmm.
have the total and same access to me. And you taught me that in one of
Absolutely.
my if you
Absolutely.
don't know, I be putting the T in my social media. Okay, so if you ain't following me, you missing out. But you taught me that. Not everybody should have the
Mm.
same equal access to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's down to friendships, that's down to family, that's down to relationships. People have to deserve that. They have to prove themselves. And it sounds bad, but it's the honest to God, because you have to treat yourself like you a VIP ticket, baby. I'm a Willy Wonka golden ticket around here, okay?
Yeah. And
You
yeah,
know,
because if you
so
giving all your energy out, you giving so
exactly.
much of yourself to different people, and they don't have the capacity to rejuvenate you, it's just gonna you're gonna be drained. It's like
And nobody
giving
replenishes.
somebody, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And I feel absolutely, I feel like a lot of that strong masculine energy, strong, it's my way or the highway, is because constant disappointment in the women in our family and many women in the world. Constant disappointment because people
hmm,
haven't been able to replenish you. Because you give, you give. If you notice, every woman in our family, they will give you the shirt off their backs, okay? We
man,
talking about people that will cook for you, give you what you need, call them, they there. Like,
hmm,
I'm going to be there.
yeah,
I may tell you
hmm.
and ask you and cuss you out, but I'm gonna be there. But
That's real.
it is real talk. And I feel like they
Hmm.
had that because one, they had to step up to the plate because nobody else would, but two,
Yeah,
constant disappointment. So you build this bitterness
mm,
and you build this anger that I gotta constantly show up when I don't even have it.
yeah.
Ooh, we
No,
just
I honestly, yeah, you going
man.
go ahead. I actually have questions about that because I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed and found that a lot of women do have that disappointment or feeling like they have
Yeah.
to show up. And how I would put it in my last relationship was like there'd be conversations where I would tell her, hey, make sure you're not overcompensating, because when you overgive, you're gonna expect to receive certain things in return that the other person might not be able to give you, whether it's a job, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
friendship, whether it's
Yeah.
relationship. Like if you overgive and your cup is empty,
Mm-hmm.
they can't refill it. Um,
Exactly.
and so I'm just curious about that. So how does it look for you then when a man does show up and he does meet certain needs that you're not used to? So a guy who, for example,
Mm-hmm.
wants to communicate or is emotionally aware and understanding. How does that work for you?
Pre-therapy, it scared the hell out of me. It
And
scared
how
the
would you
hell
respond?
out of me.
Mm,
It was like, woo, okay, I will put it in. He's just too nice. He's
mm,
just he's coming on too heavy. Back
mm,
up, calm down, okay.
yeah.
He's doing too much because
Mm,
I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't mentally ready. I was still stuck in that. I'm the driver. This is mine. You can't interrupt this. Leave me alone. It's my way.
mm,
And as much as I want to give it away, I'm still like stuck. I'm stuck in this position of this is what I have to do. And I'm not going to give
yeah.
you a chance to prove to me because I already know you're going to disappoint. And they may not. But from all of my
Mm,
PTSD of all the past disappointments, you're going to do the same thing they did.
mm, yeah.
So pre-therapy and not being aware of my actions, I would totally be scared the hell out. Like absolutely, not. I would be uncomfortable. Um,
Mm,
yeah, it would be very forced for me. Like, oh my god, this is weird.
mm,
Now after therapy, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little like, okay, all right, let's see what happens. Let's take it easy. I don't mind. Let's take it easy. Let's communicate about this. Um, I am a little bit better of communicating, hey, this is something new for me. Um,
mm,
give me some time. Let me process this. That's my favorite thing. Let me process this. Um,
yeah.
let me process this. Give me some time. And I'm more. I'm open to compromise now. I'm open to compromise. Okay, I may not be able to give you 100% what you're asking for, but I'm willing to give you 50%. I'm willing to meet you
Mm,
halfway. I'm willing to do this, maybe not the full thing, but maybe that. Let's start off
mm,
here and see where it goes. And I think
gotcha.
that's fair.
No, I think that is fair. Um,
Yeah,
being willing to communicate, to have a conversation,
yeah,
and I think a lot of times processing, asking
mhm.
for that time and that space you need to sit with whatever it is, because
Absolutely.
shit, relationships are work,
Yes,
like work.
and
And
each one is
so
going to be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't go into each one thinking, oh, well, what I did with Javion is going to be the same thing that I do with Eric. No. Javion is Javion. Eric is Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So, I just think that you have to be intentional about that. And it goes to you being self-aware and you being accountable for what you do on your end. And like we keep saying, it does not just end at intimate relationships. You have to do this with, your parents, your family, your friendships.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
literally, like, you have to go and reevaluate. Like, okay, so what is the dynamic? What are we doing
Right.
here?
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a private conversation before this recording, and remember when we talked about, we both grew up where our parents told us, you ain't got no friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
growing
Yeah.
up with that in the back of your head, like, well, maybe I'm a little hesitant when it comes to making friends, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
in my situation, I want to be rebellious because you told me all these years I ain't never got no friends. So I'm going to go out and I'm going
Right.
to befriend everybody and not
Uh-huh.
really
Hey,
understand
that's
it.
real.
And it is.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
I may
Like me
have
on the
that.
other hand,
Yeah.
yeah. Me on the other hand, I'm quick to I have associates, people I'm cool with,
Mm-mm.
but
Yeah.
as far as getting too close to them, it's not gonna happen. I could talk to you every day, and if some shit pop off, we have a conversation about it. And if it's still not cool, like next, I'm cool with being in my solitude. But it's because I was
Mm-hmm.
taught that you can't trust people.
Yeah.
You don't have no friends,
You can't.
and so
Mm-hmm.
that's been a challenging thing to rediscover what a friend actually is. And I understand where it came
Ooh.
from. Again, these traditions. I didn't find out till I think I told you till I was 24
Yeah.
what happened that led to that mentality. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that because our
Yeah.
parents grew up together, it was based on those experiences that they all had together that they all
Exactly.
telling us the same thing. That's yeah.
Exactly. And that's crazy because now here we are, years
Uh-huh.
later, generations
Yeah.
later, and we're like,
Generations.
yeah, I moved this way. And I'm like, wait, hold up, they told you that too? Like,
Yeah.
it was nothing for my grandmother to be like, the only friend you got is your mama and God. That's it.
Yep.
And she would say that very clear. If you mention, oh, I'm going to
hmm
my friend, be clear.
You ain't got
The
no
only friend you
friends.
got
You don't
is
got no
God and
friends.
your mama. You ain't got no friend.
hmm
But
hmm
based upon something traumatic or whatever that experience was, that was their response. That's how we deal with it.
That's how they.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's how they. hmm
That's
And
crazy. Crazy.
and yeah, and I
That is
think that's the
crazy.
other
Wow.
thing that we look at too as children of adults of parents of our parents. I think a lot of times we fail to ask them questions to better understand why they maneuver things in the way they do. So
That.
I'm the kid. I was a kid growing up. I'm asking all the questions. It could be a dumb one. I'm probably gonna ask it twice to make sure I
Okay.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it was through me asking my mom questions I was able to understand why she did what she did in the way that she did it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what led to us having a conversation. I was able
Yeah.
to break it down for you.
Yeah.
And one thing I've said is I didn't grow up in the projects. I grew up out in the suburbs, in the
Mm-hmm.
cornfields, in the middle of nowhere,
Not the
Illinois.
cornfield.
Don't laugh. It was a lot of corn out there, okay? But
It's okay. It's okay. Hmm.
but even so, I've told people like, yo, once I thought about it, I'm like, I'm still a product of Cabrini Green.
Exactly.
That's where our people came from because
Exactly.
my mom raised me based on what she learned while she was in Cabrini and the traumatic stuff she saw.
Mm-hmm.
So she embedded that mentality in me,
Exactly.
regardless of where I was. Like that's the mentality based on what she experienced. And
Exactly.
when we become parents, it's gonna be the same thing. There's gonna be certain things we can heal, and it's gonna be other
Mm-hmm.
things we're not gonna be able to heal, and it's gonna
Exactly.
be work that they're gonna eventually have to do, and they're gonna come back to us like, "Yo, you did this fucked up shit," and we just gonna
Yeah,
have to,
like
you
I'm
know,
gonna because of you.
be
Okay.
understanding
Exactly.
the same,
Absolutely.
But
It,
yeah,
it proves a point that communication is key. It's so key in any
hmm
relationship that you have, and especially when it comes to your parents, because I didn't necessarily ask questions. I
hmm
didn't ask questions. It was almost like, well, I guess you don't want me to know, so I'm not gonna ask. Whatever. Like out of sight, out of mind. And then as I get older, I'm like, well, wait, hold up now. This ain't
hmm
clicking. Make the math math. You know what I mean? It's not mathing for me. And then I
right,
started to notice that I'm, hitting this this roadblock constantly. Why do I keep hitting this constant roadblock?
Mhm.
Where's the lesson? The lesson is you need to communicate. You need to have this conversation with where it all began. There's something
Yeah.
beyond, oh, I just can't get along with this person, or, I can't get this right, or whatever the
No,
case is, or
that's
I'm
real.
feeling this type
That's
of
real.
way, or the self confidence isn't it. Where
That's
does this sting from? Like where is it beginning? And
mm,
that communication is very important. One thing I vow to myself is if I do get the chance and the opportunity to be a parent, I want to commit myself to being that, have open lines of communication with my children. Um, and even now, even if I don't have kids, just like, trading Japanese child, like I want to be the auntie where he comes and he like, auntie, listen,
yeah.
this happened.
Mhm.
This girl liked me because I want to check her. I want to check her. No, let me stop. But I don't, I want to be that easy balance between not being a helicopter, person in your life support system, but also making sure that you know that I'm always here. There's never a chance
Right.
that you don't have to come to me and talk about whatever. Because if you don't,
Mhm.
you leave the world to teach our youth. And
Yeah.
sometimes the world, not sometimes, all the times, the world gives us some really fucked up advice, okay?
Nah, for
It
real.
have us
Social
out
media
here.
right now.
Yes. And now you could have avoided all of this if we could have just had that communication. If we could have just talked
Mhm.
about it, regardless of what the subject matter is. And I think in our culture, especially African Americans, we don't have those conversations. And so,
Yeah.
John's wife, Sean, she has a podcast, Sean's Coffee Room. Shout out to Sean.
Shout out to Sean. What up,
Yes,
Cuzzo?
love her. Me and her, and she's the one that got me started on podcasts. Me and her started this
Mhm.
series called what was it? Oh dang it, I didn't forget. Needless to say, it was like it was like what our parents didn't teach us or something, or what our moms.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I'll link it, below. But basically, it was like the lessons that we didn't learn from our parents, from our family or our
Mhm.
mothers, and just having and sparking those conversations, it led to something so great. It led to a lot of like revelation and us just
Mhm.
evolving as individuals. Even our relationship as cousins evolved because she was able to see me in a different light as an adult. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Versus, oh,
Mhm.
this is the kitty juju. Da, 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 da. Like, I'm a grown ass woman now. Like I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
relate. I need some assistance. Help me. You married?
Mhm.
Tell me, what did you do? What am I doing wrong? Did I? What is it? So,
Mhm.
and it created another lane for me where this is another person that I can possibly go to and have that conversation, get that advice from.
Yeah.
Because not all advice
Mhm.
can come from my mother. I
Right.
may think it in my head like, oh, my mom, my mom can tell me, she's a superhero. She can tell me everything. But maybe she hasn't experienced that. Maybe she
Absolutely.
doesn't have the advice or the words to give me, and I can get it from someone else. So
Mhm.
just having that lane of conversation, I think, is important when it comes to family. When you're creating your own, or when you're operating in your current one, letting your little cousins know. I want to be able that they be able to show up. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm present. Call me, because I done
Yeah.
been to college. I done been to the parties. I done been living on a dorm. I, you know, I've seen a few
Done
things.
it all.
Listen. But
Mhm.
yeah, and it brings us to like how people be like, oh, they like to blame things based upon personality, and oh, that's
Mhm.
just who I am. I think that's all BS. Like none of us are just who we are because of who we are. Like that really is BS
Right.
to me. It's learned
Mhm.
behavior.
It's based on our experiences, 100%. And I'm one of those people who I'm able to, I could see certain things and I could understand, like, okay, you went through this and
Hmm.
this. I'm seeing this behavior. These two things align. So it's some healing that you working through or
Exactly.
need to work through in this area. Like I'm able to see those things. But sometimes people aren't ready or willing to do whatever needs to be done to work through those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't want to acknowledge, and I've learned this the hard way in relationship too. Sometimes
Hmm.
you can see a thing for somebody, but
Hmm.
maybe you're not meant to be the one to lead them to the water. You definitely can't make them drink
Yes.
it. So sometimes it's just your ability to see it and know, is this for
Yeah.
me or is it not? Should I step away? And having that wherewithal,
Exactly.
because I think a lot of time people go into relationships wanting to fix, wanting to change. Either they trying to heal
Yeah.
themselves subconsciously, or they trying to heal the partner. It's like that ain't
Mm-hmm.
not how that work. That's not how that work. Those patterns come from
Yeah.
somewhere. So it's like you said, yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's not our role to change a person. We can't change people. We
Can't change
can
people.
bring forth information. We can put a
Mm-hmm.
spotlight on it. We can bring
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness, or we can bring awareness to the issue.
Right.
But I can't change you. You have to want to change yourself. And sometimes it's not my load to bear to do that. Like that's not my
Mm-hmm.
job.
Right.
And it's not
Right.
that you don't care, but I got a million and one other things that I need to fix about me, and I can't handle all this. I can't do it all.
Yeah.
And I've realized that even with the relationship with my mom, it has allowed me to acquire grace and patience with her.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
Like, if you know me and my mother, I love my mother. My mother is
Yeah. Like,
okay.
yeah.
I'm the only child for my only biological child. And it's always been me and her. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And it will
Always.
always be. And then, of course, Japanese came apart. Now we got Japanese training. But it's always been us.
Love it.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that boundaries are important.
Yep.
So that's helping me in the
I think you
process.
should say that one again. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. Boundaries.
And one thing, here's the crazy thing. Do you feel the same? Okay. Do you feel the same? And this is how you're going to know that we're family and we're related to the same people.
Okay.
Takeover spirit, okay? They got it heavy. They got it heavy. Takeover spirit, like, oh, let me just do it. Let me tell you what
Uh-huh.
takeover spirit.
Yep.
And so when you got the
Yep.
takeover spirit, you don't know what boundaries are. They're
Nah.
not very clear.
No.
No.
And
So,
when you try to,
yeah. So,
did you?
what'd you say?
I was gonna say, did you struggle when it came to creating boundaries with your mom? Like,
Still
was that
struggling.
a hard thing for her to understand?
Still struggling. Still struggling.
Definitely family. Definitely
Um,
family.
yes, we're taking it one day at a time, and I'm learning to be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient with this process
Mm-hmm.
because you got to think about it. Her generation, they didn't know nothing about boundaries therapy. I mean, that wasn't very familiar
No.
with them. Like they
No.
weren't doing the work. They weren't doing shadow work. They weren't doing all of this. They were too busy trying to get to the paper so I could take care of these
To
kids,
survive.
so we could
Yeah. They
survive.
thought surviving
Exactly.
was their work. That was the
Period.
work they was doing, and they did a damn good job at doing that.
Exactly. I get a good job. I work
Yeah.
for the city, the state, whatever. Get a good job. Boom. I work for the government, and
Mm-hmm.
and, and I did mine. I did my due diligence. You know what I mean? And there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with that because that satisfied that time frame. But now it's
Right.
our responsibility in this generation. We need to change some things up.
Mm-hmm.
I need to create boundaries, meaning, okay, so granted, my mother don't listen to this podcast, so she'll never know that, the shadow work that I'm doing behind. It's always a psyche thing. But I'm learning that at 33, I have to create boundaries where I can't always be readily available for whenever you call. Because I need
Mm-hmm.
moments to myself to process, to wind down, to gather my own thoughts. And we all have
Mm-hmm.
dark moments, right? We all have dark moments. We all have bad days. And sometimes I'm not able to do or process or get over those bad days because here this person is calling me, and now you're going to tell me and vent and tell me what such and such did and what they not doing, blah, 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 blah. And now I got your stresses on me. And now I walk
Mm-hmm.
around both our stresses, and now I'm tense, and I can't even, you know what I mean? I have no one to woosah with.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
So what I realize is, like, we talk. It used to be really bad where we would talk every day, multiple times a day,
Mm-hmm.
and she would be the first person I talk to in the morning, the last person I talk to at night. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with it if that works for you, but that doesn't work for me because what I would notice is, and now we're button heads because I just want to come home and go to sleep and lay down. But
Mm-hmm.
you want to have a conversation, and I don't want to talk. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk. So now my mom
Mhm.
has a thing of I'm gonna keep calling until you answer. Irritates me. Irritates me. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So we're now in a space where I'll say, hey, I'll call you tomorrow. Call you tomorrow once I get to work, or I'll call you tomorrow on my way to work.
Mhm.
No problem. Especially when you get to dating. I don't have time to tell this man, hold on real quick. Let me talk to my mama real quick before I go to bed. I don't have time for that. That's awkward.
Uh,
I don't want to do that. So, to eliminate the
uh,
possibility of that, let me go ahead, talk to you in the morning. All right, Ma, I'll probably talk to you tomorrow because I got a lot going on in the afternoon. And we'll talk whenever.
mhm.
And it helps me. Shout out to my friend
Yeah.
Jackie, I just saw today at brunch. She taught me that as well. And I mean, I
Mhm.
utilize the advice that I get from you, my friends, my other family members. I utilize it. I utilize therapy when it comes to creating boundaries, not just with my mother, but with people in general. I don't have
Absolutely.
it. I can't do
Mhm.
it. Pick
Absolutely.
somebody else. No.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm at. What about you? What are some things that you have used personally when it comes to not just creating boundaries, but totally changing the narrative when it comes to, one, self-awareness of what we've talked about, just being aware of where the root is, where the root problem is.
Mhm.
Like, what are some things that you have done yourself, the shadow work that you have done?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Because I feel like I've done a lot. I think the first thing I did was leaving Chicago, and I was really
Ooh.
impulsive with it. So had a
Mm-hmm.
job, car, was cool. Was staying with my mom at the time. I had just got out of college, and I got on a bus with $50 and went to Baltimore and just started over. So me forcing
Cousin.
myself,
Ooh, that one.
me
Mm-hmm.
forcing myself out of my comfort zone was a huge one. So like I talk to friends all the time here
Yeah.
who they want to leave Chicago and I've done it and I tell them like that's a major thing if you really want to change or do the shadow work or just become more in tune and self-aware,
Yeah.
you have to get away from you got to get out of your comfort zone, you know?
Absolutely.
Um so that was the main thing. And when I left, when you leave from your comfort zone of being around your family and everything you know, that shit puts you into a shock. It's a culture shock because now
Ooh.
you by yourself. You're in a place where you know nobody,
Mm-hmm.
which could either bring you down and make you depressed, or it could be a opportunity for excitement. For me, I
Absolutely.
was excited because I was able to rediscover myself. I got to, anytime you go somewhere new, you get to choose who you are in that space because you
That
don't have
part.
nobody from back home telling you who you're supposed to be. You get to,
Mm-hmm.
these people don't know you, be whoever you want to be.
Exactly.
So that was helpful, being able to choose who I was. But also, the other thing that was helpful was I hit a really low point where all these things started coming up about seeing how other people and their families interact and relate. And I was
Mm-hmm.
able to see, like, damn, I thought certain things were normal that
Mm-hmm.
weren't. And so that led to me sitting with it, led to me creating boundaries with my mom, which I will say I was not as, it wasn't as smooth of a process
Mm-hmm.
as you've been having. Cause
Yeah.
it's probably terrible, but my block button was strong. And my mom will tell you,
Really.
my mom will tell you, yeah, like in
Really.
order for us to grow, we had some really challenging
Yeah.
situations that
Yeah.
we worked through and navigated through. But it was certain points in time where I was blocking everybody. I was changing my number. There's a period of
Wow.
time people didn't know where I was at
Yeah.
because I felt like I was carrying so much of everybody else's stuff. I just needed to get away and figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of really led to me becoming more in tune with myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Therapy,
think.
definitely 110%.
Listen. Therapy. I'm trying to tell you, I'm a whole different person. I'm a whole different person.
Hmm.
I love that of what you said. What's crazy is that I used to be the block point. I never went as far. Well, I'm not even gonna say as far, but I never used the block button on my mother. But I've definitely ignored her calls. But everybody else, you could get it. You could totally get it.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
totally get the block button, and it's because, like you said, you have this need of. I just need a moment. I need a moment of silence where I only hear my thoughts and
Hmm.
not yours. And
Yeah.
sometimes it goes with this whole feeling of, listen, my grandfather used to say it all the time. I know you heard me, but you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to hear
Mm-hmm.
me. And I need you
Absolutely.
to hear my opinion and my feelings and my thoughts. And I think sometimes our parents, they still put us back in that child. You a child, da, 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 da. And I'm not. Listen, I'm not. So
Did,
I can totally
did your mom
appreciate that.
ever?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, did your mom ever use that line on you? Like she'll ask you something, and you'll be like, "Nah." She'll be like, "But I'm your mom, Janelle." Did she hit you with that? But I'm your mom.
Like,
If that ain't the most toxic
listen,
phrase,
listen. We have this thing now. Like, I don't like people to yell at me. I don't do well with yelling. I just don't. I don't react
hmm
well with yelling. And my mother has this thing of, I think she thinks if you yell, I understand better, and I don't. Because now you're yelling, and I've completely I left the room.
oh,
I'm there, but I'm
nope,
not there.
gone.
So it's totally gone. It's gone at that point. And when you've had so many conversations where they land to nowhere because of that,
Mm-hmm.
I got sick and
Mm-hmm.
tired of that. I got sick and tired of that. And so
Mm-hmm.
now, instead of us going to this combative, we're going to argue back and forth. Hey, I'm just going to call you later. Because I know that
Mm-hmm.
now my emotions has taken over. And you're not going to understand anything I'm saying because now I'm about to match your energy. And I don't want to do that
Yeah.
because it goes
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. So, but yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She tries to press those buttons today, but we
Yeah.
get it together.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, and to people out
I,
there listening, it's a work in progress. It really is.
it's
It
it's a
really
work in
is.
progress.
And
And I think it's important to also for us who are in the space of having the knowledge of the emotional contribution of triggers of
mhm.
not working through certain things like that emotional understanding that our and the awareness our parents don't have. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that puts the responsibility in our hands in a way, and not to say that everything is on you, but because of the information and the knowledge you have, you're able to lead and steer that conversation. So being aware of that.
Yes.
Uh yeah, it was something else I wanted to say, but I just forgot. But being able to
Mhm.
maneuver and steer that conversation is it's
Yeah.
on us in a sense. And
And
we're
it
teaching
honestly,
that's what I wanted to say.
exactly.
I was gonna say,
Mhm.
we're teaching them. So I remember my mom used to be like, I was a smart ass kid. My mom gonna laugh this and laugh and be
Mhm.
like, yo. But I was a smart ass kid and my mom be like, I'm raising you to be this way and I'm raising you like this and like that. And I remember one day I was over 18, of course, and she said something and I
Mhm.
was like, Mom, I was like, I didn't raise you to be like that. And
No,
I had
I
a
didn't raise
serious
you to be
face
like
too,
that.
just
I
like
didn't
that.
tell
I
you to
didn't
do
raise you to be like
that.
that. And she looking
Yeah.
at me, she's like, Boy, what are you didn't raise me.
What?
Are you the same person you were when you had me? She's like, Well, nah, I've
Mm.
grown. I'm like, you don't think I'm responsible for some of that growth, just like you're responsible for mine?
Hello. Mm-hmm. This
And
is
she,
true.
I know I used to stress her out, but
See, you was the
I
pushing
think
the
I'm,
button cousin. You was the pushing the button cousin.
but no,
Clearly.
because when you really think about
Yeah.
it, it's certain knowledge that only we in our
Mhm.
generation have, and we are sharing it and imparting it
Exactly.
on the older generation. So in a sense, it's an exchange. So as
Yes.
much as y'all raising us, we raising y'all too. We're helping y'all too. So
Exactly.
there's a mutual understanding and respect that happens. And so when I say it's our responsibility, make sure you raising them right.
You need to make that as a t-shirt. Make sure you're raising them right, okay? But no, you're right about that. You're absolutely right. And it puts you in a seat of control. And it's not like a ego thing, but like you have more control to steer the conversation, to steer
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the future, to change the narrative, where we're not going to
hmm
do this toxic combative, we're not going to argue, we're going to communicate, we're going to use our
Yeah.
inside voices, we're going to we're going to break it down so we both understand, we're going to have the
Yeah.
dialogue, we're going to talk about it.
hmm
Even down to like finances and stuff like that. I'm going to teach you what I know about online banking because who's still mailing checks? Okay, all right, we're going to get it all together like that type of thing. This is what
Why
I'm
you
dealing
just
with.
tell her
Okay.
business like that?
This is
Why you
what
tell her business like that?
this is what I'm dealing with over here. Okay. But we're going to send emails. We're not going to write stuff out, and we're not doing that. We're not doing that no more. But it teaches you that the same way they taught us, and my grandmother used to say this all the time, that as you get older, you start to obviously go from the role of being a child to now you're an adult to now you have your own children. You started your own family, and now you're the person steering the ship. And now
Right.
you transition to someone being older where now you need your children versus your children
Yeah.
needing you.
Mm-hmm.
I depend on you because you're going to help me. So think about it. We got more technology, more stuff.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world. So I can't expect you to just know this and be able to transition into this and be comfortable with it. And a lot of times
Right.
they give us that hesitation and that back and forth because they're uncomfortable with it because it's something totally new.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to give you grace for that. And that's something
Yeah.
I have learned. Before I wrap it up, I reposted for Women's Day my mom, a picture of my mom, and one of the things I said was she was one of my greatest lessons. And
Right.
honest to God, I feel like God gave me a lesson of patience and teaching me
Mm-hmm.
grace. And I've
Absolutely.
done that through my mother. And I'm doing that,
Mm-hmm.
doing the work through my mother. It's teaching me to separate her from being a mother and look at her as just being a woman,
Yeah.
being an individual
That's
before me.
important. Mm-hmm.
And the same way I have no possibility of what the hell I'm doing around here. Okay, I have no idea. Every day I wake up and I'm like, okay, I guess this is right. I can guarantee
Right.
you she has the same feeling. You know what I mean? None of us have
Same
seen this
feeling.
before, so
It's
I
our
have
first
to
time for all of us.
exactly. So I have to give you grace, and I have to show the same grace that I want you to give me, the same understanding that I want you
Mm-hmm.
to give me, the same patience, and that has been my greatest, the most hardest job that I've ever had in my life, the most difficult task. And it's constantly
Mm-hmm.
an everyday thing, but I'm so grateful for it because who better to teach me that than my own mother?
Right. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
who better to be in also the teacher hat of me showing her, well, this is how we gonna transition this thing. You know what I mean? We don't
Yeah.
always have to
Yes, sir.
scream. We don't always have to go back and forth. We don't always have to, do that thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about it. I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk about this because I feel like by us having this
Absolutely.
mutual,
Mm-hmm.
this mutual same experience, it shows
Yeah.
people that hell, we all got some crazy ass families and we all got some crazy ass beginnings. But your beginning doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily dictate your ending. And it doesn't
Yeah.
dictate your present. And you do the shadow work, you put in the work, and it's beyond you. The work you do for yourself
Yeah.
right now is beyond just you. It goes forth for your children. You're showing an
Mm-hmm.
example for the other younger generation. Um Oh, I'm so glad that we had this conversation. It's so dope.
Me too. Me
It's super
too.
dope. You're
Mm.
definitely coming back on. You're definitely coming back on.
I can't wait. Hey.
Definitely. Not everybody get a second
Look.
chance, okay?
Oh shit. Oh shit. I
Not everybody
appreciate it,
get a chance
cuz.
to come back on. But no, like I'm super excited because I feel like this is just the beginning. It's so crazy because when I'm on like the family Zoom call and stuff, people be like, "Oh yeah, here comes this
Mm-hmm.
podcast," and I'm like, it's so crazy because nobody in our family has really done things like this before. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
weird because they be like, "Yeah, I heard the little clip," and I'm like, "Oh Jesus, please don't break it up! Please don't break it up!" So,
And them clips have been clipped
oh,
in
they
these
been
lace
clipping. Do you hear
conversations,
me?
y'all.
Listen, I damn near had a heart attack about the sex ones. I was like, oh God, no. But it's worth having the
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and it has definitely proven to me that it's needed. It's needed, and
Yeah, it
it's
is.
not as bad
It
as you
is.
think. Like, hello.
You grown. What they you grown.
How do you
Grown.
think you got here? Okay.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's been cool. So for them to see both of us on a podcast at one time, oh girl, you already know it's about to be crazy. It's about to be
You know,
crazy. It's about to be crazy. I can see it now. Text it. What is this?
what
What is this?
I just want to say, I was gonna throw you under the bus. I ain't gonna throw you under the bus. I was gonna say this was all Janelle, but it was us, and I'm
Oh
glad we did
God.
it, and it was great.
I mean,
And
technically, you said okay, so technically you signed up for it. So I mean,
we
technically,
did it together,
we did it together.
and
You
it's
know,
great. And if y'all
but
get upset, we didn't raise y'all like that. We ain't raised y'all like
exactly,
that, okay? So don't
we
come
gonna
over
put that
here
on
hooting
the
and
next.
hollering.
Yes, we gonna put that on the next family reunion shirt. We didn't raise y'all like that.
Ooh,
That
we
would be
should do
fire.
that.
We didn't raise
We
y'all
gonna we
like
gonna make that happen.
that.
Yep.
Shirts coming near you. No worries, y'all be able to order. Shirts coming near you.
Uh-huh.
But no, I'm super excited. I'm very grateful for you actually gracing the podcast. Like it's been super dope. It won't be the last. But as
I appreciate
always,
you,
when I
cuz.
wrap it up, I always ask my guests, what can we expect coming from you? Like what do you have going
So
on?
you can expect a lot.
A lot.
Um, a lot. So I do shaman work or
Mm-hmm.
spiritual work. Outside of this, so I have a coaching business where I help people as they go through their spiritual journey and just awaken more to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my main word that I'm using is trust, and so what I'm doing is
Mm-hmm.
teaching you to trust yourself because you know more than you think you know.
Ooh.
And just throughout growing up in our experiences, a lot of times the different experiences we've had, whether with people at school, just in life in general,
Mm-hmm.
we learn to not trust ourselves. We invalidate things that invalidate us. We start to trust those things. So
Yeah.
I work with people one on one to help them come back to themselves and tap
Okay.
deeper into themselves and just really trust. Yeah.
Okay, so let me
So,
get it clear because listen. Before we actually had this conversation, I was like, "Listen, cousin, I have no idea what a shaman does, what it do. Break it down for me." And it's
mhm.
true because that's not something that's typically, in the
Right,
conversation,
right,
especially in our
hmm
family or in it just ain't. So I need you to
right.
break it down. What exactly does a shaman do?
So the shaman, and how I describe it for myself, because different people will have like different
Mm-hmm.
um, awarenesses or definitions. But for me, what I do is I'm kind of like the person who people within community come to, and I have a deeper understanding, a deeper awareness of how things are connected. I'm able to communicate with just people and have conversation, but then I also have another ability where I'm able to connect with the divine or connect
Okay.
with people who might have passed or different spirits. And I know
Okay.
for a lot of people that's very like woo woo.
Mm-hmm.
But with the average client, the most important thing is to be in touch with self because a lot of the awareness comes through emotion and how we feel. And a lot
Okay.
of us are cut off from our feelings. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that's the focus of the work right now. And it really depends on who I'm working with. So
Okay.
some people might need a soul retrieval or something of that sort,
Okay.
but most people, it's different for everybody.
And you know something? To be quite honest, I feel like in today's society, in today's terms, we have different resources now that you are able to connect with to
Hmm.
really get in tune with who you are. Whether or not like it's
Absolutely.
beyond religion at this point. And don't get me wrong, like I was raised in the church, I was raised as a Christian. However, there's different sources, just like we have therapy. I believe in God and therapy,
Hmm.
okay? I really do. So
Absolutely.
you have different sources to tap into to really do the shadow work. And this is deeper shadow work of getting to know who you are as an individual and connecting with that. In our ancestral past, I mean, even, our ancestors, they connected with their ancestors and all of that. And they use different things like, I don't
Absolutely.
know the correct term, but like giving honor and
Ge-
praise to them through like sacrifice,
Generation. Yeah.
yeah, and stuff like that. Like, so it's
Hmm.
different ways, and I feel like sometimes we get caught up in what it looks like and not
I
necessarily the
think, yeah,
deeper side of it.
I think we get caught up in what it looks like. And I think a lot of times we get caught up in the labels of it, of what we call
Mm,
it. So
yeah,
in therapy, you might talk about your childhood.
yeah.
Spirituality wise, you might call it inner child work, and it looks
Mm-hmm.
different from for everybody. And it's important to realize is like you were saying before, it starts with you, but it didn't start with you.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we're experiencing, this whole conversation,
Been there,
a
done
lot of the
that.
things that we're experiencing now in relationships and life in general, it didn't start with us. It started with our parents, and it started with their parents
Mm-hmm.
and their ancestors and those ancestors. And so the ability to reconnect and to have communication and ask certain questions,
Mm-hmm.
and getting certain awareness is really helpful. So that's really
What it is.
what I tend to, yeah,
That's
that's really what it is that I do.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
love it. Like I love it, and I love what you're doing. You can tell that you're very passionate about it, and it's sacred work. And it takes a person that's not
Mhm.
only vulnerable but relatable to do this type of work. You know what I mean? And be able to be
Yeah.
transparent and help guide people to that actual realm as well. So I'm here for it. Heck, I might need to book an appointment. But
Just let me know.
I
I
love
got
it,
you.
and I feel like you're in a great example to changing what our generation looks like. You know what I mean? And changing what
Mhm.
what a traditional view is, and I'm here for it. So I'm excited for what's to come. And how can we find you on social media?
So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at j.malakhi. So J Malachi. And then that's also my website. So if you go to www.jmalakhi.com, you can find me there as well if you're interested in learning more about, my services or, checking out my content.
Well, thank you for explaining exactly what it is that you have going on. I feel like that is something that you are totally committed and very passionate about. And it's super dope because it changes the view of what, you know how you have that stereotypical, like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be like, I'm going to do something else that I can bring to the table and also bring to my community and my family a
Absolutely.
different resource, a different
Mhm.
aspect, and that's super dope, and it's needed for people to do not only the shadow work, but just become who they are individually. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited. Y'all go book
Thank
the
you.
appointments. But how can they find you? How can they book an appointment? How can they get this all together?
Got you. So there's two ways you can find me. You can find me on Instagram. My
Okay.
Instagram is @J period Malachi
Mhm.
Malakhi. And then my website, which is
Okay, Grandpa.
www.jmalakhi.com. So uh,
Okay.
www.jmalakhi.com. Um, you can find me that way. If you go to the website, it also has links to my social media, YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff, and my
Okay,
booking.
perfect.
Yeah, and feel
Okay,
free
and
to.
what we'll do, we'll add it to the bottom as well, so that way people will be able to just click on the link or click on the
Okay.
tag and be able to find you. Y'all book my cousin. Okay, book my cousin. Thank you. I don't put my name. I don't stamp my name next to many, but book my cousin. Thank you very much.
uh,
But no, I'm super excited. I feel like this is gonna be dope. I can't wait to see what you do, especially on the YouTube. I'm just saying, I can't wait to see.
Shoot,
I can't wait to see.
I'm getting it up and running.
We waiting.
It's
But I
coming, y'all.
truly hope that the audience has enjoyed our conversation. This will not be the last time you see my cousin, so get used to this face, okay? And definitely follow him and support him, and just see what he's doing, because he's out here doing the real work and the work that's needed to advance our people. Period. And I'm excited about that.
Okay.
And if
Thank you.
anything, you are. What'd you say?
I said thank you. Thank you. And for creating a platform, for having the vulnerability and the wherewithal to follow through, because I know it's not easy putting yourself out there, not knowing who watching,
It is
and
not.
doing it anyway. So thank you for
Why
being
you think I
committed.
got this? Thank you. Why you think I got this big ass glass of wine? Because
Well,
trust me, the vulnerability, okay? It's
mhm.
it's rough out here, okay?
well,
I'm out
well,
here putting myself on Front Street for the
well,
people.
I know next time to bring my glass. Okay.
It's okay. I had enough for you and me. It's okay. But no, I truly thank you for that, and it's super dope. You're
Absolutely.
totally the reason why I do things like this, because obviously it's conversations needed, and you make it easy. So I appreciate you.
All right. That's cool.
And if you don't know, of course, if you don't know already, you know how to find me. Y'all go and follow me on social media. I am Lace Convos. Wait, what is my at Lace Convos with you on Instagram, on Facebook, we're Lace Convos with you podcast. We have a TikTok, but I'm still working on it one day at a time. Calm down.
We gonna get it up and
But you
running.
definitely get some behind the scenes. Yes, we're gonna get it up and running. And if you don't know by now, clearly you're watching us. So we're on YouTube. Hello. Follow, link,
Hey,
ring the bell, do all that.
all that.
But YouTube page is Lace Combos with you. Definitely follow. Watch us. Once again, we do the audio. Audio drops on Thursday at 8:30, and then the visual drops Fridays. Every Friday, I come with the shits. Okay,
The
so
shit.
definitely watch, follow, and yeah. Other than that, that's about it. It's been fun. It's been
Great.
fun. And as usual, if you can't do nothing else, keep it cute or put it on mute. And remember to always keep it lace. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one, y'all.
All right.